Hello, this is Andy at Circle Precision Tool once again. Let's see, we're doing a series of videos on manufacturing a simple mechanical part. In the prior video we did the setup for the machining of this part. Now we're going to put the tool paths on it. We're gonna go about this maybe a little bit differently than most, but certainly effective method. We're going to use something called 2D adaptive clearing, and so the way you get there is you click on the 2D adaptive clearing button in the browser, and the first thing you see here when this comes up, and the workflow on this is the same, is you move across these tabs, left to right, just like you read. We're going to start here with the tool. We're using tool number 6, which is a 1/2 inch 2 flute end mill, something that I've already set up. We'll do a whole separate video specifically on setting up a tool and the reasons we do what we do. Under general, it's tool number 6, offset number 6, length offset number 6. That's important. You want your length offset and your tool number to be the same, and diameter offset number 6. This just helps from an organization. You know that when you're dealing with length offset in the G code, number 6, you know that it goes to tool number 6. Doesn't have to be that way, and there are maybe a very few reasons not to do it that way, but there are an awful lot of reasons most of the time to do it that way. This defines the size and the shape of your end mill. Straightforward enough. And then the speeds and feeds, which is something a little bit more tricky. And again, we'll probably do a video specifically on speeds and feeds. Using some other software, we were able to determine the speeds and feeds, and these are appropriate for the milling strategy and material. We're running the mill at 3,800 RPM. We're going to use a cutting feed rate of 20 inches a minute. And very, very slow lead-ins and very slow plunges. And this gives us a chip load of about 26 thousandths. So that's pretty light, to be honest with you, but very appropriate for what we're trying to do here. So we've got tool number 6 set up and chosen. We're going to go here. Okay. Let's see. The first strategy is I'm going to just clear the outside of the whole part. I'm not going to try and face it down or anything like that. I'm just going to take off material around the perimeter. So we're going to get rid of that. By getting rid of the machine cavities, we automatically get stock contours, and that's what we want to do. We just want to machine down to the part using the stock contour. And what I can do really quickly to see if everything's going to work out, and making the right choice is always a little bit tricky, at least for me. You just say okay right away. If you get a tool path, you know you're good. You just right click on it again, and so we got a tool path right out of the gate, and that's awesome. We're going to say edit, and so our geometry is correct. We're moving on to our heights tab, and what I really want to do is I want to machine about 20 thousandths lower than the bottom of the part. So what I'm going to do is scroll around here. I've highlighted the bottom of the part, and I'm going to say minus 0.02. So now I've just put the depth that all the machining is going to happen at about 20 thousandths lower than our part. Basically the strategy is we're going to rough out and finish all the top bits of this part, almost the whole part, and then we'll flip it over in the vise and just mill off the rest of the stock. Pretty simple, pretty standard strategy. Leaving stock, we want to leave a little radial stock because we're just roughing this and we want to finish. we don't want to leave anything axially, so we'll just put 0 in there. Lead ins, lead outs, we'll just leave alone. We'll say OK, see what we get. OK, and we're going to make one more edit. Looking at the toolpath is so right now I really want to step over 20 thousandths of an inch. What I'm doing is I'm moving right along. I have a fairly high speed on the tool and I have a fairly high feed, and I'm just going to take very light cuts. This allows you to machine a little faster, and I'm also using the side of the end mill to mill. So I'm starting out with fairly deep cuts but very light, and I'm using the side of the end mill. This strategy is practical in that you use a lot of your end mill, and you get a lot of material with very little horsepower. So that's the trick there, and that's what that looks like. So basically this is the tool path, and we've roughed out just the outside of this part, and we'll show you a simulation of the whole thing at the end, but I am trying to move right along. So we've cleared the outside of the part. Now we're going to clear up to this boss part. We're going to use a 2D adaptive clearing strategy, the same tool, same speeds and feeds, and what we're going to do is we're going to machine from there. So what I've done is I've selected the outside contour when enabled. Let me see if I can leave that little note up. No, it won't stay up. Okay, so in the note here you can see the enabled portion, and that's what we've done, and we've selected the contour of the part. And actually that part looks just like the part I'm making. That's pretty amazing. So now I am, let's see if I can get rid of that. Yeah, I am going to now make, there's that. So, and then I really want to collect that to be there. Good. So now I'm machining between this yellow line and this blue line, and we've got to be careful about our heights. But what I'm going to do real quick is just say OK. Make sure we got a toolpath that's legitimate. Okay, so we've got a toolpath that started out here. It's not the one I want, but the machine understands what I'm trying to select, and that's the trick I'm using there. So now I've chosen my heights. I've chosen my boundaries. I'm going to choose my heights, and the height I'm going to take, I am just going to select it, and that's just this face here. And then I'm going to move along here, and we're going to, the optimal load here is 20 thousandths again, for the exact same reasons that was prior. And I'm not going to leave any radial stock, because I'm not going up to the edge of that boss. I'm just going up to the radius, and when we finish it we'll use a radius tool. So we're going to make that 0. And single depth, part of our strategy, leads in, we say OK, and there it is. So now relatively quickly, without much ado, we've roughed out up to this boss. And then the one final bit is we're going to take off the stock on top here, and we're going to use a facing strategy to do that. Again, same tool. And we're going to make a selection here. We're going to select, this is the area that we want to face, and now having that line highlighted, that makes that good. Our heights, again, we want the top height to be from the top of the stock and the bottom, and we're going to make a selection, and that there is our bottom height. And in this case, since we're doing such a light cut, we're going to just step over half the end mill. you know, we're only taking a 60 thousandths deep cut to finish the rest of this material off. So we're going to keep the cut very light. And that should be all that there is to it. So there, good. So now, as I promised, we're going to do a little simulation. We've set up those toolpaths relatively quickly. And I find simulate all. And we have stock. I'm not going to show the toolpath for clarity purposes. And we're going to push the go button here. So there we go. We're milling around the perimeter. We're using most of the tool. We're taking a very light cut and a pretty aggressive feed. We have about a 3/1000 chip load. All conservative, but you know, a big part of it is about having it work the first time, and if you want to optimize afterwards, that's completely appropriate. Okay, now we're starting on our next next tool path, and we're cleaning off to the boss. And now we're facing the top off, and we have a little stock left, but that won't be a big deal because we're not to finished size yet. If that bothered you, we could make some changes, but really it's a non-issue for this stage of the part. So thank you for watching our video. We will be making quite a bit more. Our next video will be roughing out the internal bits of this part, and after we do that, we will then add the holes into the side and do the finishing operations, and that'll make everything to size with very light cuts. Thank you again.